Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope you guys are having a great day today. For this week's video, we're going to tackle easy arpeggios that every guitarist should know. Now, arpeggios can be an absolutely amazing tool to help us break out of those ruts and overcome those plateaus that we all find ourselves in as musicians. So whether it's your rhythm playing or your soloing, adding some arpeggios can really give your playing a creative spark to an otherwise maybe mundane or straight ahead kind of guitar part. So as we start our lesson today, we're going to pair it with a worksheet. So if you want some additional information, check out the link above. That takes you to my Etsy store, and you can pick up the full worksheet, which has 3 different forms of major and minor arpeggios that I would consider the foundation. And then it's got some exercises to work through as well. But we're going to take sort of the basics of that sheet and show it to you guys today. All right, so I'm going to put the tab on the bottom of the screen so you guys can follow along, and we're going to go through 2 forms, the major and the minor. And we're actually going to work through the key of G so that we can keep it musical, and I'm going to show you guys afterwards how I would use that in a solo. All right, let's start with the first arpeggio that I think every guitarist should know. And this is a major arpeggio, and it's going to be an E form, which means the root note, or the starting note in this case, is going to be on our E string. And you can play this on any note up the neck, and it's going to be a major chord, which is really cool because then depending on what key you're in, as long as you know the underlying rhythm chord, you can add an arpeggio, which will give it a really cool creative spark. So here we go. Let's go through the fingering of the G major arpeggio in E form. Here it is. And that's all there is to it. Now, I like to use my ring finger to bar the 5th fret notes. Some of you may want to use your pinky finger. Okay, but I find it easier to shift back to the ending on the 3rd string, 2nd string, and 1st string using this shape. So, and that's it. And if you want to, use it as a warm-up, which I often do, I find this to be a great warm-up, is just to move up the notes of the neck. And so forth. So really great exercise. And then when it comes to solo, you already have it in your muscle memory. All right, so let's move on to the second arpeggio shape that I think every guitarist should know, and that is an E form again, but this time we're going to use the minor shape. And we'll go back and play kind of all of these through the key, but for now, let's just learn the 2 shapes before we get too far ahead. So we'll use this example in A, and it's very similar to the first one. You can see the fingering on the tab. Let's check it out. Okay, and again, I like to use my ring finger to bar. Some of you guys may not want to bar and just use individual fingers. That's totally fine too. Okay, and once you get comfortable doing ascending for both of these, you can actually do descending as well so that you go up and down, which is also a great exercise. All right, now that we know our major and minor arpeggio in E form, let's work through the key of G all the way up our neck. Okay, so follow the tab, and the form in music for a major key is always a major chord, 2 minors, 2 majors, a minor, a diminished, which we haven't covered yet, and then back to major. Okay, so we're going to follow that formula, and here we go. And then the diminished chord, which we haven't covered yet, let's play it because it's not too hard. And then we can resolve it to the root of the key. And that's all there is to it. So now that you know these 2 forms, the question becomes, what do I do with them? How do I use them practically? So what we're going to do is do a quick 30 to 40 second solo for you guys where I do some regular soloing, and then I jump to some arpeggios and go back to some regular soloing so that you guys can see the creative aspect of using arpeggios. Let's check that out. So as you guys could hear, having those arpeggios kind of in the middle, sandwiched between two basic sections of soloing, really gave it a little bit of an interesting creative lift right when you need it, right? So the soloing is really nice and melodic. I was using the natural minor scale for most of the soloing. Lots of linear lines, side-by-side notes, little mini runs and stuff like that, which is really cool and interesting. But you know, after a minute or two of that, you might need something to kind of break the listeners out of that kind of lull, right? You're kind of listening to a solo and you're interested, and then you might wander a little bit and think about something else, and then suddenly an artist breaks out an arpeggio, and they can be like slow arpeggios like I was playing, or like sweep arpeggios or tapped arpeggios. There's a bunch of different ways to articulate them, but what it does is it snaps the listener kind of out and back into you know, what you're doing. All right, so now let's jump into part 2 of our lesson on arpeggios. What we're gonna do is give you guys another creative way to tag on a little section of the major or minor scale onto your arpeggios, which is just gonna give them another interesting way to tie it into your regular soloing. All right, so now let's look at a second variation on these arpeggios that incorporates a little bit of the major or minor scale, which really gives them a more melodic feel as well. So on the worksheet that goes along with this lesson, there's always the main arpeggios and then a variation. So let's look at the variation for E form. All right, so let's jump back and start with our G major. Now you can tell by looking at the tab that each one of these arpeggios has been extended using the major or minor scale. So let's check it out. Okay, so here's the little major scale that goes with it. Now normally the second scale degree, which is an A note, would not be in a G major arpeggio, but it does give it that nice melodic ending. So let's try that again. Okay, and I'm sliding up, but you can just play it with your pinky finger if you wanted to. Let's go on to the minor shape, and we'll again go through the key of G, so let's play it in A minor. Okay, and again we're adding that second scale degree to the minor third. And then we do B minor, C major, D major, E minor. Okay, and then we have our diminished chord again. And in this variation, I give you guys a more extended voicing that takes you all the way from your sixth string to your first string, which I think sounds pretty cool. Such a strong voice leading into the root note, and so we'll resolve it. So there you guys go. Those are 2 easy to play arpeggios that I think every guitarist should know. The one kicker is you need to know what chord is happening underneath. So you need to figure out the chord progression that you're going to be playing over. And once you know that, yeah, just pick your major or minor. If you had a B major that you needed, just use that major shape. If it was a B minor, use the minor shape. And of course there's 7th, dominant 7, minor 7, major 7, and also all sorts of altered ones. So, you know, the knowledge that you can gain by doing arpeggios is really great and really useful, but I think this is an awesome place to start. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I hope you enjoyed this mini lesson on arpeggios. Hopefully it helps and inspires your playing. If you like content like this, subscribe to the channel by clicking right here. Head over to the tab store above to pick up that worksheet. And other than that, have an awesome week, you guys. We'll see you next time with a new video. Take care.